Hi friends, we're going to read another book about outer space. This one's called Sun, Moon, and Stars. When you look at the night sky, you can see shining stars far away in space. You might be able to spot the moon too. Everything you can see is only a tiny part of space. This book is kind of neat. It has different facts about outer space. And this one says the moon looks small, but it would take about 4 days to drive all the way around it. 4 whole days. Our planet Earth is a lump of rock in space. It is one of a group of 9 planets. One of them is a dwarf planet. Each planet goes around the sun on its own invisible path. Remember we talked about that in our other book, how the Earth spins on itself and around the sun. The sun and the planets are called the solar system. Here's the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then the dwarf planet of Pluto. It's a dwarf planet because it's not big enough to be classified as a regular planet. Most of the planets look about the same size here, but some are really much, much bigger than others. Pluto is so far away from Earth. Here we are. This is where we live. Here's where Pluto is. It's so far away that the fastest spacecraft would take 10 years to get from Earth to Pluto. Sorry, guys. The sun. The sun is a star. It is the closest star to Earth, so it looks bigger than other stars. The sun was formed by thick clouds of dust and gas. It became a glowing ball of gas that is hottest in the middle. The surface of the sun bubbles and boils. The sun has dark areas called sunspots. They are cooler than the rest of the sun. Right there. Never look straight at the sun. Its strong light can hurt your eyes. Have you ever done that before? Looked at the sun? Ooh, had to turn away. Earth and sun. Earth turns as it moves around the sun. The parts of Earth facing the sun have day. So right now for us it's day. So we are facing the sun. Parts of that light doesn't reach have night. As Earth turns, different parts have day or night. When it gets dark where you live, it's just getting light on the other side of the Earth. So for us, it's daytime. For Europe, it would be nighttime. The sun is a long way away from Earth. A spacecraft called Ulysses studied the sun from space. It can't fly too close to the sun, though, because it would melt from the heat. The sun gives us light and heat. No plants or animals could live without it. The 4 planets closest to the sun are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. They are all rocky planets, but Earth is the only one that plants and animals live on. This is Venus. It has high mountains and volcanoes. The planet's air is poisonous. A few years ago, a small spacecraft was sent to Mars. The spacecraft opened up and a robot car drove out. The car was about the size of a skateboard. Scientists on Earth used computers to make it move and take photos. Mercury is so close to the sun that the land is hotter than boiling water. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are far away from the sun. They are pretty cold places. Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system. This red spot on Jupiter right here is a storm that is about twice the size of the Earth. This one little spot on Jupiter is twice the size of Earth, the planet that we live on. Imagine how big it must be for Earth to fit in there twice. Saturn has bright rings around it. From far away, Saturn's rings look like solid hoops. But in fact, each ring is made up of dust, rocks, and ice. So it actually looks like this. Even though in pictures it looks solid, it's made up of little pieces. The surface of Pluto is frozen like a huge ice skating rink. The moon is a ball of rock that goes around and around the Earth. This is the moon. As the moon moves, the sun lights up different parts of it. This is why the moon seems to change shape in the night sky. When the sun shines behind the moon, you can't see its light. It's called the new moon. Sometimes you can only see part of the moon, and this is called a crescent moon. You see how it's a crescent shape? When the sun lights up the whole side of the moon, you can see a full moon. Other planets have moons too. Jupiter has more than 40 moons. A rocky desert. The moon is a dry, dusty place. It has no air or water, so nothing lives there. The moon's surface is rocky and hilly. It is covered in giant holes called craters. They're like big bumps. Many of the moon's craters are so big that whole cities could fit inside of them. So Greenville, perhaps, could fit, or Washington, could fit inside of one of these holes. The holes are so big. There are lots of rocks drifting in space. Sometimes a rock crashes into the moon, and the rock explodes and dust flies everywhere. It makes a deep bowl-shaped crater. So that's how the craters get on the moon. Rocks fly down and explode on the surface and make a hole. The moon is the only place in space where people have landed. This is how astronauts got there. A rocket blasted off into space with astronauts inside, and that happened in Florida. Part of the rocket fell away, leaving a small spacecraft. A lunar module came out and landed on the moon. Astronauts climbed down the ladder and onto the moon's surface. Astronauts explored the moon in an electric car. They collected rocks to bring back. This is a piece of rock from the moon. Looks kind of like our rocks here, doesn't it? In the future, scientists might build special hotels on the moon for people to stay in. Would you want to stay on the moon? You'd have to wear a helmet. Vanishing trick. Sometimes the moon moves in front of the sun and blocks out the sun's light. This is called a solar eclipse. This black circle is the moon, covering the sun. Gases from the sun glow around the edges, so you can kind of see the light from the sun, but the moon is covering up the sun. At the start of an eclipse, the sun looks as if it has a bite taken out of it. Let's see if I can get that closer. See right there? The sun is starting to cover up. The moon is starting to cover up the sun. As the moon covers more of the sun, the sky gets darker and feels colder. The moon covers the sun completely for a short time, and it gets dark outside. Have you guys remember we had a eclipse not too awful long ago? During an eclipse, many animals think it must be night, and so they get ready to go to sleep. Stars are glowing balls of gas like the sun, because the sun is a star, right? The bright star in this photo is much bigger than the sun, but it looks small because it's so far away. Some stars slowly get bigger and duller over many years. They puff off layers of gas and slowly fade away. Some big stars explode. This cloud of gas is all that's left of an exploded star. Many stars move around in pairs. They're called double stars. Star friends, right? Stars can be joined up to make patterns. This pattern of stars is called the Great Dog. You see, it kind of looks like a dog. There's his head, there's his tail, his feet. If lines join the stars, you can see a dog shape. A group of billions of stars is called a galaxy. One galaxy is called the whirlpool because of its swirling shape. That's what the whirlpool galaxy looks like. Most galaxies are spiral or oval shapes. One galaxy looks like a wheel. Remember in the other book it showed you how they come in all different shapes? A shooting star is really not a star. It's a small, hot piece of space rock. Shooting stars are also known as meteors. They look like stars falling out of the sky. Often, lots of space rocks fall at once. This is called a meteor shower. Space rocks heat up if they come too near to the Earth. They burn away, leaving a trail of light behind them. Some rocks are too big to burn up, and so they hit Earth. This huge crater was made by a rock that fell in Arizona, which is a state in the United States. So a rock from outer space fell through the Earth's atmosphere and hit the ground in Arizona and made this hole. People use telescopes to look at space. They make things look bigger and clearer. This huge telescope floats around Earth. It takes photos and sends them back to Earth. A spacecraft took the telescope into space. A robot arm lifted the telescope out. At first, the telescope didn't work properly. Astronauts had to go into space to fix it. You can see faraway planets, stars, and whole galaxies through really powerful telescopes. You see the astronauts working on the telescope? So, let's go through some words here and talk about what they mean, just in case you don't know, right? Here are some words from the book. A planet is a huge round object in space. Earth is a planet. Can you think of some other planets? Can you name them? A solar system is the sun and the 9 planets that go around it, right? And remember, there's more than 9 planets, actually. There's plenty of dwarf planets. We just don't talk about them as much. A crater is a hole on the moon or a planet, made by a space rock hitting it. An astronaut is a person who is especially trained to travel in space. Have any of you guys ever wanted to be an astronaut? That'd kind of be a cool job, wouldn't it? A lunar module is a small spacecraft that landed on the moon. A galaxy is a group of billions of stars. There are millions of galaxies in space. Can you remember what galaxy we lived in? We talked about that in the other book. A telescope is something that makes things far away look bigger and closer. Have any of you guys ever looked through a telescope? I hope you guys are having a fun day today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye, friends.